This episode of the 40 Thrive podcast is brought to you by Audible. If you're like me, you love to read, but you don't always have time to sit and read a book. Audible makes it easy to consume your favorite books wherever you are, whether you're driving, walking the dogs, doing chores around the house. You can hear your favorite books anytime, night and day with Audible. So head on over to audibletrial.com/40thrive and get a free month plus a free audiobook download. That's right, audibletrial.com/40thrive and get a free audiobook download, including The Soul Frequency, the book by today's guest, Shauna Lee. You are going to love it.
You're listening to the 40 Thrive podcast, the show created for women 40 and beyond, ready to shake things up. And now, your host, Jackie McDougall.
Welcome back to another episode of the 40 Thrive podcast. Now, this one is super special because here I am at She Podcast Live. I'm meeting so many women. I have to tell you, so many incredible women over 40 doing all the hard and amazing shit they can. And it's like awesome. And so I'm in the Buzzsprout booth. They do live recording. You can sign up for a spot. So I'm here, but I have to tell you a quick story. I'm here with Shauna Lee. That's it. So yesterday, Friday, I walked into your talk. Now, it was a little overwhelming, all these women, there's like hundreds of women here, and there's so many great talks, and it's like you're looking at titles for talks. It's crazy though, because the day before, Thursday, when I was flying out, I said, you know what I really want to do? I want to go into some talks that aren't necessarily those that get more downloads or make more money or build, a bazillion people on Instagram. Like, I want to go into some meaningful stuff that maybe will break me out of certain habits and patterns and whatever. So that being said, I fully intended to go in and support one of my fellow speakers in another talk. And so I walked in to support her, and there you were. And I'm like, that's not her. I'm in the wrong room. And I go, you know what? You actually said hi. Like, as I walked in, I was like, I'm going to sit my ass down. Like, I'm not going to walk out right now.
I'm not going to walk out after that.
I'm not going to walk out. And so I sat down. Can I just tell you that your talk was exactly what I needed? It was so, I am like a very logical person with a side of woo-woo, but I'm very insecure when it comes to talking about souls and all the, the universe and all of those things that I love. Like, if you actually see my Audible, it's ridiculous how many like soul-based books I listen to, but I'm not really, it's weird because I feel insecure when I talk about it. So anyway, enough about my story. Welcome. And I cannot wait for my audience to hear all about you and your amazing work.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
That was a whole long thing, but I really wanted my audience to understand sometimes you get what you need when you least expect it.
Exactly. There's something really beautiful that happens when we start just finding the things that we don't think are where we're supposed to be or what's supposed to be happening in our life.
Yes.
And realizing that they all have significance.
Right.
And I think when I tell the story of my life and feeling so confused at a certain point in my life why all of this crazy stuff was happening for me, it's like, does this make any sense? Like, is there a reason I'm going through these things? And I think everybody can identify with that feeling. Like, we all have stuff that we go through in life and go, what is happening? Like, why is this happening to me? And I think that when we find and have faith in the fact that there is significance in all of the things we experience, because what I know to be true in my own life is that every single thing I've done in my life, it's like stepping stones. And it's all culminating in such a beautiful way into who I am today and what I do in the world. And so in our session yesterday, I told a story that I also tell in my book, The Soul Frequency, about a time in my life where it felt like over about a year period of time, every single thing in my life just came apart. It felt like an unwinding that was unstoppable. And in fact, I say all the time that it felt like I was slipping through a tunnel and I couldn't stop it. I was putting my hands out, my feet out, and nothing was slowing down the slip.
Right.
And so at some point, I just had to surrender to that. And one night, my son was 1 at the time, I took him into his bedroom, and I turned out the light, and I just started rocking him in his chair. And the impact of all the ways that we hold in the emotions of the things we go through just culminated in this night. And I just started going through, we had left the house that we were going to live in for the rest of our lives. We had sold half of our furniture, moved into a tiny place. We lost half of our family members. We had spent every single penny of our savings. I mean, all the things that make you feel secure and safe in life.
Right.
And I was just not even sure I was going to be able to pay my rent. And I was looking at my life going, this isn't even my life. Like how did this happen? And I put my son in his bed, and tears just fell out of my eyes onto his pajamas, and I just crumbled on the floor and was just sobbing. And I, thought I might be just losing everything, like my mind, my, my life, everything. And I heard these words, and the words were, "What if you created this?" And I don't think they were my words, because I don't think I could have come up with that at the time. And I thought I might be losing my mind, like I'm hearing voices, but that it made me angry at first. It made me feel like, why would I create this? If I could create anything, it would not be this.
Right.
But then I heard 8 other words, which were, if you created this, you can uncreate this. And that was a turning point in my life. I mean, it felt like my whole life just shifted in that moment, because it made me go, well, did I create all this? Is all this part of the journey? Is there a reason for this? And if there's a reason for it, then I can change it, right? That it has value in my life, even though it's difficult and painful and horrible feeling right now. And I got up off the floor that night a different person than the person who walked in that bedroom.
Right.
And I felt possibility for the first time. I didn't feel like the victim anymore, which I had felt like for so long. And for the first time, I was like, oh, I think there's something bigger going on here. And I think I need to start opening up to, like you said, being closet, woo-woo person. I think I need to start really expanding like what I see as possible, and starting to hone in on who I really am and what this experience has taught me. Because there were lessons in it. And when I got out of the victimhood, I could start to see the lessons.
Right. I love how you kind of do that juxtaposition of victimhood and then possibility. Really, all that is a mindset shift, and then it's amazing what happens. But I will tell you, all day yesterday, last night, this morning, I cannot stop thinking about, if you created it, you can uncreate it. It's so simple and so powerful, because one of the things I see with my community of women over 40, there are 2 sides. There's the side that's like, I'm going to throw caution to the wind. Like, I give 0 Fs. I am like, I know who I am now. I feel empowered, and I'm going to go do all the things. And they go skydiving, and they go start businesses, and it's amazing. And then there's the other side who's like, I'm invisible. I'm, no longer relevant. But what's amazing is they're both right. If you believe that you're irrelevant, then you're irrelevant. But if you believe that life is filled with all of this opportunity, and you are in the perfect position and age and stage to do it, then you're right. So how do you work with people in sort of, like, what kind of work do you do with people? Like, what are you uncovering, especially with your clients over 40 and your podcast listeners?
Everything. No, I'm just joking. I think 40 is like, in the 40s, the middle point of our life, whatever that means for somebody, is this ultimate opportunity for awakening. I think a lot of our young life, we're going through, being a teenager and in your 20s. And for a lot of women, we get very involved in, are we going to be married? Are we going to be in partnership with somebody? Are we going to have children? It takes a lot of our time and effort and energy and focus to do those things and do them well. And if you have a career on top of that too, then, oh my gosh, you've got like 3 full-time jobs.
Right.
And for a lot of women, they get to their 40s, and it's like the first time where they stop to evaluate again. Like, oh my gosh, I'm now halfway through, theoretically my life. Like, we start to look around and go, do I like this? Do I like me? Do I like how I'm showing up in the world? Wait a second. what do I believe, right? Because it's like when life is so busy and in our younger life, we're so caught up in what other people think of us and keeping up with the Joneses or
Right.
keeping up with looking a certain way or being a certain way or acting a certain way. And I know for me, when I got on the doorstep of 40, I was like, I have gone through life dotting every I, crossing every T. I was outwardly very successful and inwardly very unfulfilled. And I had wonderful things in my life, right? Wonderful people. I was loved. I was cared for. And I was so bothered because I'm like, how can it look so good outside and feel so not fulfilling? And it felt like, if I do everything right, it should feel good, right?
Yeah, and what's wrong with you? Why aren't you happy?
Right. Like, isn't this what we're going for? Is
Yeah.
to like get to a point of fulfillment, which is why I really talk to people about the difference between success and fulfillment.
Yes.
Because they are two very different things.
Yes.
And when I work with somebody and I go into their life, I'm looking at everything in their life experience. We are all unique individuals. And we get to a point where we need to evaluate, why do we believe the things we do, right? Is this from our family of origin? Is this from society? Is this what we truly believe in our heart and soul? Like, what is our inner truth?
Yes, there's so much autopilot with beliefs.
So much. And I said this yesterday, in the talk, it's not the things that we know, right? Like, we know a lot of things about ourselves that we want to change or evolve or work on. It's the things we don't know yet, right, that are really running the show. And when we can courageously bring those to the surface, and that's what I really help people do, is kind of look at maybe some of the things they haven't recognized yet that are really the things that are holding them back. Like, oftentimes we think it's these very surface level things that we can see, and we're like, for instance, a lot of times I see this in women in society. We get bothered by our weight or how we look, right?
Yes.
And we go, that is like the number one thing. If I could just take 20 pounds off, like, my life would be amazing, right? I mean,
the angels would sing.
Right, everybody would be like, whoa! And we say that to ourselves, and we've got the hidden pair of jeans, right, in our closet that we want to wear. And really what is underneath that is where we need to be looking, right? There are so many other things driving that.
Yes.
Right? But we're looking in the mirror and we're seeing the physical.
Yes.
And we're seeing the weight and we're like, oh, we're so frustrated. And so I like to go to the root. Let's go right down to what's really causing the dissatisfaction in life. Because when you heal that, everything else above that heals too. It's a natural byproduct, right?
So the physical is a manifestation of what's happening within.
Exactly. And so this is just a metaphor for all of the different areas of our life. Like, sometimes we have a mindset thing, but it's really something emotional for us.
Right.
But we're looking at the mindset and we're trying to fix the mindset. And it's like, no, we need to go back and fix the emotion that's driving the mindset.
I love that you say that, because we're all in this place of like, you can manifest, you can just, dream it and do The Secret and all of that stuff. But if we don't truly believe in our core that we're worthy, that we're enough, that we deserve all of the beauty that life has to offer, you can't manifest anything really, like, for the long haul.
Yeah, and I always use the analogy, you can't paint over rust. And we do that a lot in the personal development space even. Like, just think your way out of it, or like, be positive.
Because it's good marketing.
Yeah, good vibes.
Sells books.
Right, it does. It sells things because we all want the magic pill.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To make it better. But at the end of the day, is it really a magic pill if it makes it better for 5 minutes or it doesn't make it better? To me, I'm like, let's look at what's really the root cause of this. Because if we have courage and we can look there, it's better forever.
Right.
Right? Like, you get the forever result and you feel fulfilled and amazing. And I'd way rather take a little bit more time, right, and really look at what's going to make the difference. We're so afraid. It's funny. We're afraid to invest in something because we're like, is it going to work?
Right.
Because we're being fed
That's
the
so
magic
true.
pill all the time, and it's not working.
I'm willing to do it if you can tell me that the outcome is actually successful.
Right. Like, I'll give you all my money and all my time if this is really going to work.
In 30 days or less.
Exactly. Exactly. And so it's like, if we understood that it'd be so much easier in the long run to really go to that root cause, it's like, you won't spend the next 10 years of your life taking pill after pill after pill,
Yeah.
thinking it's going to solve the rust, right? We want to paint over the rust, but eventually rust just seeps through paint. You got to get rid of the rust.
Right.
And then the paint's fine forever.
Right.
And that's really the analogy that we need to think of when we think about the ways that we want to evolve or change our life or grow.
Right. So for October, I'm really dedicated to the whole wellness, the holistic approach to wellness. So I have talked with doctors already this month, on breast cancer awareness and hormones and all of those, fun things that we love to talk about over 40. But I really wanted to include you in this month because I don't think we give enough credit and enough emphasis on the soul. And I'm the first to say, as much as I'll listen to all the personal development books on Audible, I still feel like a complete newbie. So can we go back and break it down? What do you think of, what is the soul, and what are some of the things that we're kind of doing not to honor it?
I love that you're talking about this on your show and bringing it up. And I've had several people here at the conference say to me, I'm woo curious. And I'm like, that's a great word for it.
That's the best ever.
Right.
I always say I'm one woo of the woo-woos.
Yeah, exactly. That's so good.
Yeah.
And I think there's an archetype in this world of what people consider woo-woo that feels very not stable, right? It's very out there, very, you know what I mean? Just so woo that I think a lot of people feel I don't know if I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And one of the things I spent, 20 years in a very corporate business type environment. And so while I know how energy moves in the body, while I understand the woo factor, while I have a very intuitive way of working with people, I'm also very practical and grounded, and I have a very strong mental plane as well. Mm-hmm. And so what I like to say to people is this is just coming online as we become whole people. So this aspect of woo, if you want to call it, is our higher sense. It's our intuition. It's our gut instinct, right? For every mama bear, right? You have a gut instinct about your children. That is your woo, right? And it's just another aspect of your being. And so it's not that we forsake our mind or we forsake the three-dimensional reality, right? Or any of the things that we know. It's just that we are starting to become more whole, right? So you're talking about holistic health and being a whole person.
Yes.
That is just what's happening on this planet at this time, right? And so it's looking at our mental plane, our mindset, our emotional plane. What have we been through in our life? Have we processed those emotions? Our physical body. How can we care for ourselves better physically so that we can be here longer?
Right.
And then our spiritual plane, our higher source, our intuition, whatever that means to you. These are the aspects of our beingness. And if we look at it like a pie chart, right, where are we lacking and where are we leading, right? And leading is a positive thing, but sometimes we might be so on our mental plane, we have forgotten about our emotions. We haven't cried in 10 years.
Right.
We've forgotten about our body. Do I even have one, right? I certainly am not taking care of it. And I don't feel connected to anything bigger than myself. And so wellness is not going to be super present when we have any one area. Same with people that are totally on the spiritual plane and forgotten about a body and emotions and a mindset.
Right.
They're not fully holistically healthy either. So it's looking at these different areas and saying, what are the areas that maybe I need to get more curious about and spend some time with? And what are the areas that I really excel in and feel really comfortable? Usually we have one area that feels the most comfortable to us. And then we have one area that's yeah, that's okay. Not going to look over there. So you just want to look at the different areas and evaluate for yourself. Where is it at for you?
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten to the point, at least, I'm going to speak for myself, but somehow I got to a place where being emotional and being connected to my soul and all those things were sort of a weakness. And that I needed to be we started describing women as badass and a girl boss and all of these in some ways masculine terms that I think we forgot that the gifts that we have as women, the femininity, and I just mean that the ability to feel emotions, the ability to be nurturing, whether it's to our own kids or just our community or our parents who are aging or, I just love that you're doing this work that reminds us to go back inward and be kind of fall in love with ourselves again.
Yeah, and you know what's really powerful? When change happens for most people in any area of their life, when we've been on one extreme, we've been very male dominated, male driven, especially in business, right?
Yes.
And patriarchal in our society. It's natural to swing all the way to the other side, right? It's natural to feel like women have to adopt, this very masculine aspect of themselves to be heard, to be seen, to be valuable, right? And then it swings back into balance, which is I am feminine and I am masculine too, and so are men, right? And this is really the resurgence that's happened now of owning both aspects of self.
Right.
And how do we integrate both of those sides? Because they need each other.
Right.
Your masculine side and your feminine side, that's how you're going to be at your best, by integrating those two aspects of self, right? The flowy feminine and then the very scheduling left brain masculine. Both of those together are magic and powerful. And so, most people tend to be either on the masculine of their personality or the feminine of their personality. Balance, whatever balance means to you, somewhere in that middle space is where you're going to be in your full power, and your ability to manifest and create things on the planet has to do with you being able to balance those energies within yourself.
Right. I love that. You are amazing. I'm so glad that I'm such an F up that I walked into the wrong room. I'm just kidding. I'm not.
Everything happens for a reason.
It's just, I feel like you can find purpose in everything that happens. That's what I believe. What is the best way for people to find you?
They can go to my website, which is thesoulfrequency.com. It's my hub there. They can also listen to my show called The Soul Frequency Show podcast.
Awesome. And I will link to both of those in the show notes. I really appreciate your being here. Don't forget to take a second to subscribe to this podcast and also follow Shauna for sure. And until next time, take care and keep thriving. Spring has sprung, and with the change of seasons, sometimes comes an increase in vitality. If you're feeling in the mood for a little more personal time, may I suggest Coconut. Coconut is all about providing clean and natural ingredients when you're enjoying your most intimate moments, with or without a partner. Naturally safe products developed by people who are obsessed with quality. Get 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Coconut. That's 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Coconut.